tell me that, Karen, we have this appointment, and then suddenly they just don't return my calls, or they just don't even bother to tell me that they're not showing up.
Well, I think what pisses me off are people who pretend to, as if they don't know me. If we walk sa corridor, then I know him for like siguro a year or two, then I want to say hi, and then he doesn't look at me and pretends na as if he doesn't know me.
Well, I hate it when people talk to me and they're using their cell phones like they're texting and they're not really listening to what I'm saying. So it's so rude.
Erase all the borders and start.
Okay, we'll continue the same line of discussion because, frankly, I'm starting to get confused between whether we're talking morals or manners. But before that, Mo, you'd like to introduce
Yeah, with us right now is Carol Tan. She's an instructor of John Robert Powers. She thinks that parents are spending less time with their children. Now, vices, peer influences contribute to one's aggressiveness and frankness of today's generation. And Rina Go, she's a fashion designer of vice versa. She admits that there is a deterioration of good manners amongst young generations, but it is wrong to blame it on Western influences. And I'll come back to this more.
Okay, first, I'd like to be clear about one thing, because as you were talking in the earlier segment, it wasn't clear anymore to me whether manners or etiquette, as you call it, could be restricted simply to certain very specific rules on how to behave, or whether it's really an attitude towards people, kind of kindness towards people, consideration. And if a person who was not lucky enough to be drilled in the specific norms of etiquette and the specific rules could get by simply being a decent and kind person.
I would think so. I put more store, for example, on someone who is kind and compassionate than I do on etiquette.
For example, let's say table manners. Supposing, well, this Filipino habit is to eat with a spoon and fork, and right. I don't think that's supposed to be good manners in foreign countries. But here, I mean, if you're Negros or whatever it is, that's it. If you actually use your hands. Yeah. But there is a way of doing it. You can do it with a certain level of refinement. Right. Well, not throwing your food around.
You hold
you can even do it with your hands.
You hold, exactly.
I've seen it done. Yeah. Would that pass?
It's lots of fun.
I mean, we shouldn't do it with foreigners around, but would that pass as a good-mannered person?
Certainly. As you said, we do it all the time. Most families eat with a fork and spoon. Now, I would think that if you were with other people that are using their fork and knife, then it would be
appropriate.
Appropriate, yes, for you to follow.
Needs to go in with the flow.
But I watch people eat. I'm a big person, people watcher. I love watching people. And the thing I've noticed, you can really tell somebody who has more, I hate the word breeding or whatever, but who's better mannered, the way they hold their spoon and the way they hold their fork. There are certain ways of holding a spoon and fork, which is nice to look at. It's not, well, you see those that hold it like this, and then you go, like that. My God.
They're fighting the food.
Yeah, there's the difference there. Well, you see them cutting spaghetti. Have you ever seen people cut spaghetti?
I have.
They go, my God.
Kids do.
No, big kids, believe me.
There's always the proper way to hold it, but there's also an improper way that's not bastos. I'm not the best twirler in the spaghetti.
We're not talking about spaghetti.
Yeah, no, but for example,
we'll go back to the spoon and fork. Eating with rice.
Right.
You need. Well, that's why we use a lot of spoons.
Right.
Our main diet is rice, right? While the other is bread. Now, what's the way they hold it? There is a way of holding. And you go to restaurants outside in Oriental, wherever, you just watch people eating lunchtime.
I think that if you hold your fork and spoon improperly, you must be eating with your hands the rest of the time.
It's the way they hold it, Mary.
They hold it in such a grip.
That's it. You've seen that.
Well, that's why, because they're not used to that. Anyone who is used to it will hold them just normally.
Some people think of it as a weapon, isn't it?
Okay, a lot of this obviously has to do with what you say is breeding.
Correct.
And came to the rather ticklish question of whether it has to do with money, whether breeding, good training is confined to those who have it.
Brought up well.
Or you're brought up well. In the old days, well, two things. One is, I don't know how that happened, because when I was young, I remember we were not supposed to be heard, and if possible, not seen. The old people felt that it was not very polite to their friends to bring someone who had nothing to contribute to the conversation. The kid was obviously nothing. So you wondered where they would get their etiquette in that situation. And yet we say that the the generation that was raised by them is better bred than the new ones. So where did it come from? It's just the refinement of manner, or a specific training in what they do?
No, nowadays, for example, the children, the young people join the conversation and they have their say. But then again, it depends on how they say it and when they say it. You're not supposed to, and your own parents will tell you this, butt in when your father's saying something.
Mm-hmm.
It stands to reason, doesn't it? So,
do you find kids more polite now than
before?
Than before?
Yeah.
I think they're more independent as far as their views on certain issues are concerned. It's not...
Views are fine, but how they express themselves, for example, in company.
No, I think if you know where to toe the line as a parent, you will know when to say.
Do you think how strict should parents be these days with their kids?
Very.
When it comes to etiquette.
I think so.
I don't like...
I must agree to
But
that
you know,
as well, no?
I'm not very particular about the rules or to go through a book. I think that if you're downright sensitive,
Common sense, yeah.
sensitive to what the other party feels, there's
Then by
no
all means,
book.
it's all right
you
to
know,
do so.
you can, that plays a big part in making the other person comfortable.
You have a school that teaches etiquette.
She teaches.
Or you teach
Yes,
it?
actually it's John Robert Powers, and there will basically, it's a school perhaps in a formal sense, but other than that, you know, basically we're there to help out individuals in making, you know, the best that they can possibly be,
But
because
what
we
happened-
definitely believe that...
What happened to us, to the girls' schools, for example, in the old days? It seems that they don't, you know, you knew where a girl came from, which school.
Because
from
the way
one
she spoke,
school
everything.
would never open a banana with her hands. She'd always use a fork and knife. God knows how she did it, but it was taught. How come that disappeared?
it didn't disappear, except that the people that would go to a school for etiquette would not have come from one of the...
Low-end side, not on the low-end side,
But
because
it was
for one it's
the
very
nuns who were
costly.
teaching it. They
No,
were teaching it universally to
precisely,
everyone.
but these girls that come to a school for etiquette have not been to a nun school.
Well, the nun schools, I think, have stopped teaching it too.
I come from a nun school.
Well, but
In
no,
your time?
they've never have taught it, but I mean, they correct the girls.
Basic is started at home.
Yeah, definitely.
If you are good at the home,
the basic unit of society
Everything.
and
You
the
can
rearing,
go
the upbringing, it starts from there.
to IS, you
looking at
can
an
go
infant.
to wherever. If you don't practice this at home, it's gone.
Carol, you have kids.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am a mother
Don't
of a
tell me
2-year-old girl.
IS teaches
So,
manners. I've never seen worse mannered kids than at the IS.
But I mean, when you get home, if your
Sometimes some
parents
kids
take
do
good
that.
care of you, then
yes,
it starts
it's
at
the
home.
bringing up.
Well, we have to take a short break, but we'll be back with points of view.
Open up your thoughts. We want to hear your POV on this issue.
I don't think it matters if they put good GMRC back in school, as long as their parents are doing their jobs and bringing up their children in a good way, you know, God-fearing and considerate of people.
I think the good manners thingy is it's an effective way to teach everybody how to act, because nobody knows it. You can't find it in a book or whatever. So I think I believe it's a must.
Yes, of course. Kasi upbringing yan at home and school. Pag wala kang good manners, it shows kung ano upbringing mo sa bahay, di ba? So I think the parents should help their children first, and then in the school especially.
Open up on points of view with
Good manners. Joke. In this segment, we're going to be talking about Pinoy's superficial politeness. Is it doing more harm than good? With us? Yes.
Yeah, with us are MiriamQuiambao, Chide Jesus, Rinago, and Maurice Racacha again. Before we launch into the whole superficiality of manners topic, let's do a basic survey of what we feel is good etiquette and bad etiquette. First, public displays of affection. People who are kissing with tongue in public. How do you feel about that? Let's go around.
They do it in France.
So it's okay.
I think it has something to do with culture also, because in the Philippines, we're basically more conservative, right? So whenever we see people who display their affection,
we stare.
Yeah.
If I had a camera, I could have
Until when are we going to be conservative, di ba?
How do they feel?
Yeah.
How do we feel apart from jealous?
Envious.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I probably would be.
Especially when we don't have a partner.
I think it's because
You
it's
say,
uncomfortable.
you know, then you say, my God, they got guts. You know, that sort of thing.
I think
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, no.
See, everybody's so polite.
It's an act that's very intimate between couples. So for you to be exposing that everywhere, parang there's no respect now for the act, right?
But she disagrees. He
Yeah,
feels that, you know, it's just a vestige of being conservative.
Exactly, and like what media shows us on television and in the movies, like you have this grand scene where the couple kiss in the middle of a park or something where people can see them. It's so romantic. So.
But is it ladylike? Is it ladylike to be in public kissing your boyfriend with
Oy,
tongue?
how come you put the burden on the lady?
No, I mean because diba,
It's just a receptor.
They say yes or no.
is it, you know,
She says no.
He enjoys it, that's why.
And they make it possible.
No. But I think it's what Miriam said, the culture. You know, if you go to Central Park, my God, everybody's necking left and right. Under the tree, below the tree, everywhere.
On top of the tree.
But Maurice, it's tough, isn't it? The moment you have a family and you have children and you don't know what to show and what not to show. And
Well,
you're
yeah.
watching TV and it's
Correct.
there and you're like,
Should they look at it?
Or you see your kid doing that.
yeah, you know, you change how you view these things. If before it was okay, suddenly it's not.
It's exactly. We will not talk about kissing. It's like Mo said, you know, Bawal umihi dito. And there you see somebody taking a leak. Right there.
Right on the side.
Right on the side. I've
Tracing
seen
the
that.
letters.
You know,
Yes,
I wanted to stop my car.
Filipinos are survivors. We constantly adapt kasi. So if you have the need and you don't have the toilet or whatever, you have to answer the need.
So it's
Run
more
to
of
a bar, run to a
economic
coffee shop.
necessity.
Yeah, you
One
have
in
to be
every corner,
practical.
diba?
Practicality outweighs a lot of times etiquette.
Yeah, and then another question I've been meaning
Yeah.
to ask our panel. You're in the movie theater, somebody starts talking loudly on a cellular phone during the part where the hero's going to die. What do you do? If you yell at that person, isn't that bad manners also?
You'll be causing more noise. What
You're teaching them manners.
It's not.
You're
It's not
teaching
bad
them
manners.
manners. It's like if somebody burps.
So rude.
You know,
Yung parang they
That's so
deserve
rude.
to be yelled at.
Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You don't yell, you just say, hoy.
And
I
then
think
probably
you know,
the
No, but what
the
happens is they look at you like you're the villain.
You know what? There's a way of sharing the proper way to them without being rude yourself. Like, excuse me, parang we're watching a movie or something. Or could you please tone down
Oh,
your
yeah.
voice?
Yeah, and then if it's you, they'll say, oh my God, it's Miss Universe.
Or they would go, oh, I'm sorry, much louder, in a much louder tone, and then they would leave, causing a scene. Now, you're left in the theater and people look at you.
well, you know,
No, for me, manners comes in many forms. You know, you can burp. I've heard people burping and you go, what? Nothing, and they continue yapping, blah, 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 blah. You can burp, sometimes you can't help it.
You know
right
why?
when you say,
But in
excuse
China,
You know why?
in China, they like
They
burping.
make it a contest.
me, are you kidding?
even
No,
polite.
I've heard them.
Yeah.
Where one is louder and they think
Well, it
it's
depends what
funny.
culture.
Yes. Yeah.
but even bad
Japan.
manners extends everywhere, even to in the streets, huh?
Yeah.
While traffic, you know what I mean?
Traffic, the basic,
Yeah.
ano.
Why is that? Is
Traffic
people just in a
politeness.
damn rush, or you know?
Well, I think it's because there are some
Discipline.
people who discipline and
yeah.
disrespect for rules.
No discipline
For
at
other
all.
people's feelings.
So I guess being born with manners or having manners or being taught manners, you discipline yourself slowly as you grow up.
So-
I remember when we were kids, you know, kids, when you're at the table and eating, you have all sorts of possessions, you're doing
Right.
this.
Yeah.
And my grandmother would always say, ano ka buisit sa imo? You know, that's in Ilonggo, it's really bad luck to eat like that.
Kalain.
Oh, ka buisit, you know, that sort of thing.
So we won't learn-
slowly, you put your hand down and then, you know, eventually as you grow up, you get
You learn.
People
disciplined.
kasi are undermining the value of sorry. When you do something bad, you can always say sorry. You can always say, oh, I didn't mean it.
So
I'll
it
do
ceased
it
to
next
mean
time."
anything.
Yes.
Yeah, it's become superficial.
Yeah.
Okay, well, speaking of superficial, how about calling tita and tito to your, you know, to people who are not
Yeah,
even
especially
related
if you're
to
in showbiz, I'm sure people call
Hi,
you Tito.
Tita.
My God, as in,
How do you feel about that?
I mean, you're
People
not
call me
related.
tita and they're a lot older. Well, it depends on how people are introduced to you. Like if I introduce Miriam as Miriam, call her that.
Mr.
Other than
Catch,
that,
Mr. Catch.
parang it's so pretentious.
Me, I just tell them, call me Maurice.
Sickening.
Period, yeah. You know, sometimes I like to say, are we related?
Yeah, parang when somebody would call you, Tito or Tita, parang say, I don't recall you being a child of my sibling.
Yeah. But
some
in
people
showbiz,
like
it's a very small world, so you can't really burn any bridges. You go, don't call me that.
Some
No, I
people
just
like
tell them,
being called
just
Tita,
call my
right?
name, that's it.
So I guess
what
it's
I'm saying.
really, feeling your way, finding out who would, put up with it and who would not?
You have to ask. You have to ask. Like Tita Mary a while ago, she said that people call her Tita. So I told her, can I call you Tita? And then she goes, yes. So I said, thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
But some people, when they're introduced with their family names like Mr. or Kachi, oh, you may call me Maurice. And then
which I do. I do that 99% of the time.
Exactly.
Some people don't like it.
Yeah.
Some people say, just call me Maurice.
Oh.
Don't call me Tito.
That's me.
All right. Well, how about when being like Filipinos being, say, too polite to your, that kamag-anak kind of attitude? Do you think we should discourage that? Because sometimes people start to abuse that.
When you're not allowed to speak,
Right.
especially when old people are talking.
Does that still exist?
In
Kind
some
of,
families.
yeah.
I think.
Some families.
Rare.
Like you'd wanna shout things at your tito or tita because they're
There's
not
such a
they're
thing,
saying
yeah, I
things
don't
that you
know.
don't really agree. But because you're like
really old,
young, they don't listen to you.
And then sometimes expressions like po, opo,
Yeah.
please
Yes,
excuse me are just used as deodorant for, for parang
It's mechanical.
inconsiderate behavior. People figure that if they can say please or excuse me, it's okay no matter what they do. So where does this being inconsiderate spring from? You think well, you believe it comes from the home, diba? From the upbringing.
Yes.
But what about,
Breakdown of
in
values.
society, we have these so-called role models. Have they, stopped functioning as role models?
Well, I think when parents have children, parents were used to be children. So when they grow up, when I have children, I don't want it to be like my family, na very strict and all that.
but that's pro and con, huh?
Yeah, and then
Either or.
then the children would be outspoken, and they would later on hear them
Calling them first name.
hear their children talking back at them. So I think we all want to have a good family and all that stuff that you'd say but it all depends on what's happening around. So it's a continuous process.
At times there's also one reason would be the breakdown in family values. Nowadays, women are coming out of the homes and working outside or outside of the homes and don't have that much time to be with their children. But that can be good in a way because they're being more independent, learning more about their powers as women. But there's also a tendency to disregard the family. They leave their kids with a yaya, and they feel bonding between parents and child is very important because that is basic learning, that's basic education for the child.
So Rina, how does one strike a balance between having a career and then raising your kids right?
I think that if you train them well with basic good manners, they're not supposed to greet someone kasi kilala or mayaman. I mean, if you've met before, if there's anything I can't stand, it's like I've gone to school with this girl in high school. You see her, as soon as you catch her eye, then she looks away. That's so rude. I mean, it's like...
Maybe she has Alzheimer's.
Attitudinal.
She forgot your name.
Yeah.
So I didn't see her. Oh, hi! Look at somebody else.
Well, but it's equally annoying when, parang somebody you just barely know will get over familiar, right?
Well, that
happens in bars. You go to bars these days, you'll see that.
And that's why you're in a bar.
That's
why you're in a bar, because you want to be over familiar.
Well, you see these girls, they're all boys, and then you see these guys just come up to them and like they were friends for years.
But some people like that.
Yeah.
You feel you're very popular and like this, you own the bar and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
so you'd
and at times they take it against you if you appear so formal before them, right?
I think if you're gonna be in a
Yeah.
bar, you want to be informal. If you have work to do, then you go to a coffee shop where it's really quiet. If you're in a bar,
Well, it depends. If you're out to pick up, that's okay.
Yeah,
but if you're out there to
exactly.
be with your friends, have a good time, just to booze a little bit.
You can always
Then you see
brush
this
them off.
heavy guy comes your way.
Anyway.
Hey, blah, blah,
Reeking
blah.
of alcohol.
Yeah. And then you turn your back and say, hey, and you have to turn your back. Yes, blah blah blah. Then you turn your back.
Hey again?
That's hey again. So
you
what
can
do you call
always
that?
pretend that you're drunk. And you can't hear them with the music so loud.
What?
What?
I'm sorry, gotta go to the ladies' room.
So faced with breaches of etiquette, what is the good thing to do? Do you let them know that they've committed a breach, or
In a nice way.
It
I would
depends on who you're dealing
Correct.
with. There
Also.
is a limit to
Also.
talking to a person that just can't get it.
Get it.
They no matter what you do, like earlier Miriam was saying that if you're caught in a traffic jam, do you make habol the bus or not? There's a limit. How far can you teach them good manners?
But speaking your mind,
I mean,
A lot of
with
times,
depends who
yeah.
you're talking
You
to.
can go so much.
You
That's
can
it so
only
far.
do so much. After a
That's
while,
it.
it's like,
Give
have
up.
a nice day.
That's it.
See you
Goodbye.
later.
Well,
There
you know what?
comes-
We're going to be taking a short break. We'll be back with more. Don't go. It's Points of View.
Training and motivation, and whether you want to keep it, that's something that we definitely have been discussing for the past couple of segments here. And we're going to do a little bit of a recap and find out what our guest think are good manners and what to keep. Like, for example, with the Filipino values, we were talking about that during the break. What kind of Filipino values you think are good manners to keep and to let go of, Maurice?
In my case, I would say, what do you call it? You know, like saying good evening, good night to your parents whenever you come home, or good morning when you see them. I remember as kids, even as we were older, we couldn't leave the house unless we'd say good night. You know, mom, dad, whatever. And I think that's a very good value right there. It's not big, but it's there.
Right, that's one of them.
That's one way to check if they're leaving the house.
Well, true. It's also,
I still
shows
believe
respect.
that age plays a very big role in Filipino values. There is a limit as to how much you can raise your opinion or how much you can raise your voice, which I don't see in the Western world, particularly, which we should keep.
Right.
Okay.
And you know, at times, like being vocal too also helps. Yeah, simple things such as, you know, I love you, mom, or I love you, dad. Because some of us, you know, especially young teens nowadays, they feel so awkward about that. You know, it's just a three-face phrase words. But you know, for some reasons, they find so very hard to express.
But on the other hand, I also have a different experience. I think sometimes they use it too much. And there's a
Or
certain
expressing it
openness
in a different way,
with
yeah.
old
You
people
lose.
that's frankly rude. I mean, you know, you don't want to be too
If you
intimate with
overuse
anybody.
I love you,
I mean, yeah, I mean, if they overuse it, I think.
Depends on whom they tell it
There's
to,
no
I
sense of
suppose,
distance
yeah.
anymore.
I don't know. I can't agree with that. I think hearing I love you as often as
hardly
possible
hear that,
is
actually.
nice, I think.
I hear a lot.
You do?
Yeah,
That's
you hear
good.
talking about, I love you, I love you.
Most
Perhaps
people
guy
are
women
shy.
relationships,
Right.
yeah.
Most people are shy about saying I love you.
But I mean, I think
You
to your
don't
parents,
hear
it's
it
okay,
too
no?
often. Yeah. No, even my kids, I don't know when's the last time that I heard them say I love you.
I say it every single time I
Now,
say goodbye to my father.
every
on
time
the
they
phone.
come, hi mom, they give me a kiss. Hi.
But sometimes
But
some people, I
saying, "I love
suppose,
you."
express it better in actions, yeah?
I don't think I've ever said it. I really,
Come on.
seriously.
But perhaps not in words, but
I'm
in
very
their
close to my
actions.
parents, very close to my father, but I could never imagine myself in a situation where I can look him in the eye and tell him something like that.
What kind of advice would you give?
It's
Well,
not
he's dead.
easy. It's not easy.
But perhaps
No,
in your
I mean,
actions, it
it's
shows.
not done.
It's
I mean,
not.
To my mom, I
You just
did.
show it
To my dad, I
by
couldn't.
behaving well.
Yes.
I want to
To my
know.
dad, I couldn't
I
say
want to
that.
kind of throw this out to everyone. If you're stuck in like a social situation and there's some kind of bad behavior going on, what do you do? I mean, Maurice, you're always out there in a social situation.
there.
So,
Out there.
Ardy, and if you see someone acting a little bit inappropriately, what would you do? I mean,
Well,
if
at
you see
this
bad
day and age,
behavior.
you take a chance, because either you get bopped in the head, or when you go out, they're waiting for you, or you go up nice and say, hey, don't you think it's something like this? I've seen this done with some people in the clubs, and one of them is here. Where did he go? Well, anyway, he's one of them. And this gentleman went there to help, because this guy was acting very rude, and it turned to a fist fight. So it depends how the situation is.
How much is dressing up part of good manners?
Mary?
I think a good part. It's a good part because
Because, some people will say
You go to
it's a kind of self-expression.
it is that too. But you go to say a black tie dinner and then you show up in a polo shirt. Well, that's completely bad manners, being rude, impolite, unless the person didn't understand.
Well, a lot of Hollywood stars will go to a white glove White House dinner or whatever and show up in something completely inappropriate, and they get plastered all over the tabloids about how inappropriate it is.
Exactly. So sometimes it really makes a big difference as to what kind of image a person wants to project. Yeah?
You're right. They probably did it because they did want to get plastered on the papers.
Yeah, that's...
But visually right.
And besides, they're big stars, you know, that gives you a sort of a leeway to do whatever you please.
But dressing is also a kind of a way of showing respect, right, to the people who are going to see you.
And you look good. You know, I mean, say when you dress properly, I think it's good manners, whatnot. But you look good. I mean, you see people, they think they dress well. And then when they stand up, their necktie is all the way down to their zipper.
What about these weddings? You know, they state clearly, black tie, formal. And then people show up in sport shirts.
Casual, semi-formal.
Casual for the girl. It's
well, that's really bad
completely wrong. Absolutely.
If there were a few rules that you should
seriously
remember, especially in this fast-paced world where, you know, so many things press on us, what should those rules be? Maybe one after the other.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just a few specific rules.
Specific rules.
May I say one that is very, very, very overlooked by Filipinos? Being on time.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's a good one.
Anything I cannot stand is people being late.
She's always.
I'm telling you right now, we should have been discussing this the whole show, Filipino time, because not even is it in a social situation, it happens in our airports.
Everywhere.
Okay, our airlines are, I won't mention which ones, but all of them.
In every phase of life, people are late here.
You're right about that.
You know, in the beginning, when the traffic was bad, you could blame it on the traffic, but they're still blaming it on the traffic.
So you can
I blamed it on the traffic earlier, you know, but it was true, actually. It was true.
You know, you have to take that into account now.
No, but it was true, actually. But I do find that, I mean, I grew up in a Western society, and we call it here in the studio, might be New York time share. New York time. We want you there on the dot, you know, and so...
It works.
No, it doesn't. Instead of coming 2 hours late, I'll come an hour late.
Sometimes it helps out to keep the watch advanced.
It's a terrible habit that us Filipinos come and breed.
And it is a habit.
It is a habit.
Where
It
do
can
you
be
find
broken.
more bad manners? In the West or, say, the Philippines?
In the West.
I don't agree.
No, but the Filipino time is terrible.
No?
Filipino time is bad. That's very, very
Filipino
bad.
time is bad, but like in the way people act towards each other, I find in the West they're quite polite. They may be cold, but they're proper.
I agree.
There are certain things they don't raise. They don't raise personal questions.
Correct, yes.
You don't even know the person.
You don't say things like, you look big today, you lost weight.
They stop for
They look at the issues,
That's awful
actually.
thing. Yeah, they ask about your weight.
And they don't attack the person.
Well, that's the thing is that I think that when it
driving
comes to...
skills are superb. They will stop when it's
the discipline, and
they
definitely have this respect for law.
Even where the pedestrians walk through the lines,
Litter.
you are supposed to stop.
Yeah.
In England, they can be speeding. One person's crossing the line.
Just
that car
stop.
stops.
Exactly.
You know, regardless. Here,
But the ordinary, run-of-the-mill Westerner is very rude.
Pardon?
The run-of-the-mill Westerner, you know, the ordinary guy, he is very rude. You don't find them being polite. Our middle guys, you know, our small people
are more
polite.
Yes,
more considerate of your feelings.
Yes, absolutely.
I think the Westerner will tell you if he feels he has no business with you, we'll just cut you off.
Yeah.
But at least you're cutting to the chase. At least I'm not wasting my time with you, you know? I mean, I'd rather...
There is such a thing as being considerate.
Of course.
And I think part of manners is being considerate to people. And the Filipino definitely is more considerate than the Westerner.
Ma'am, do you think that it's considerate when you walk into a room and you say hello, or you walk into a restaurant, you say hello to one person on this side, and then you say hello to this other person on that side, and both of them will say, oh, you lost weight. Oh, you gained weight. I mean, do you think that this will happen in every situation?
They don't mean to be rude.
Oh,
you know?
goodness, yes, they...
It's just
I did think it was rudeness until I made that mistake and I realized that, that I asked an American the same thing. She says, none of your business. And I realized that it wasn't any of my business that she had put on.
I mean, this is where I find that like the societal etiquette of the Filipino, that part, you know, really kind of just irritates me, not because I fluctuate in weight, but because it's rude. You know, it's rude, and I think that it's not a nice way of starting a conversation with someone, because it is invasive. It is invasive, and
I think it throws you off.
You're like, what? Does it matter if I gained or lost? Do you have a tape measure with you?
What's even worse than that is when they ask you, how old are you?
That's very rude.
No, but you know what is nice with the way they say, how young are you? You know, that's something Westerners could pick up.
It's very natural with them.
That one's something a Westerner could pick up. That's very natural for a Filipino to say, I think.
I will give God. Between 40 and death, take your pick. That's it. That shuts them off.
On that note, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Mo and Jessica. Stay tuned to Points of View.
Points of View would like to thank Lacoste and Marlboro Classics for Teddy Locsin's clothes, exclusively distributed in the Philippines.
Between the East and the West, between us here in Asia and then the people, the Westerners, and their etiquette, like Mo right now, who's being kind of rude. Let's put it that way. Do that, Mo. Come on. All right. Did you see that? See, our director is so polite that you didn't see it. All right, he's picking his ear. Anyway, I think that we were doing a lot of comparisons between the East and the West and what's good and what's bad and what the Westerners do that is bad and what we do that is bad, Filipinos do. But I don't think that there's any kind of perfect person out there that's, you know, really going to do everything right all the time, especially when you talk about societies and cultures, you know. But individually, I think that it's important to kind of, you know, take consideration on yourself and say, look, you know, I'm going to be this way because it's actually nice and it'll actually, not to impress other people, but for yourself, you know, don't you think?
Well, it's really supposed to be, I think the research they gave us said that manners are really kind of a social lubricant. It's how to get by in society. You're not supposed to, you know, score off whether you made a point here, you made a point there, but just figure out that human experience shows that this is the way to survive your life.
Well,
you know, from the time you're old enough to mix with people to the time when you finally croak. If you have manners, you probably survive that and prosper or succeed to some
I think it's a good way of life to have good manners, you know. I think it's just a good way of being.
Well, since we have so many cultures, some things might, you know, offend others and some things might not offend certain people. But you know, there's universal rudeness, like being late or you know, urinating on the wall.
Bringing up this being late just because I was late today.
You're paranoid.
No, like the urinating on the wall stuff. I mean, that's universal rudeness, you know.
That's universal.
I disagree with that because who are you rude to? The wall?
What?
You're rude to your people around you. The people with the sight of your...
Okay, yeah, there you go. Boy, I'm gonna walk down the yellow road.
I don't want to be in my car or like, you know, in some kind of vehicle and then watching someone whip it out in the middle of nowhere. You know?
Nobody whips it out facing the traffic.
Yeah, you haven't seen that. I've actually come across that.
In New York?
No,
maybe they're just
not at all.
exhibitionists.
Pardon?
Maybe they're just exhibitionists.
I've seen it way too many times, you know. My luck, I guess.
Well, no, I
hey, that's a
think
compliment.
Manners are...
Not what I see it. I'm not complimenting.
Manners are the outward manifestation of consideration and respect for others, diba? And it's not just social gatherings that are formal where they bring out the good silver and people, it's not just a question of knowing which fork to use first. Tip, work out from the outside in. That's the only thing to remember. But it's relations with other people in ordinary situations, like meetings in the office or going to the mall, or you know, these little things count. You know, like Ted said, manners make our lives easier. And you know, between making your life easier and more difficult, of course you'll go for the easier.
And actually, not only that, it's also not even easier, it's more pleasant, you know, when you're around people that have manners.
For some basic rules, like, you know, you can't remember everything in Emily Post. Right. Would it be like, never stick your finger in any hole in your body or something like that? I guess that's one of them. I think it's a pretty universal rule.
In private, possibly.
No, I mean, any hole, I mean, basically.
Like, no.
Parang that's an image I want to blot out of my mind.
But you have to admit, it's a rule that has no exception.
Right.
Oh, goodness.
Well,
I don't know
anyway,
about that one.
hello TSC viewers. Hi. And
Okay, we're going to say, you said hello to all of our TFC viewers, and we're going to also say for all of your suggestions and comments, you can email us at pov@abs-cbn.com. You can also visit our website at www.studio23.com. That's it for tonight. Hope you enjoyed the show.
.ph.
.ph, sorry. That's .ph, not .com. Hope you enjoyed the show. We did. It was fun.
Yeah.
We'll be
Good night.
back.
We'll be back here on Points of View.
I really like how interested she was in my discussion.
What do you mean, sorry?
What? I was really, I thought I was really going into it. It's
Sorry.
Just, what?
You know why? Because
I mean, what are you doing here?
You've just seen Points of View. Join the Gab 4 next week as they move to a new time slot, Mondays at 10:30. Tomorrow, join the Queen of Talk as supermodel Tyra Banks shows you how to look like a ramp model without spending more than $100.
And then there were these two kids who were playing, and they opened the curtains, but she had already put her clothes back on. And so their mom was there, so she tells the mother, excuse me, could you mind your kids? And the mother yelled at her na, how do you expect me to look after my children? They're 6 years old, they're rowdy, what am I going to do? Tie them up? And she started ranting there, and my friend just slunk away. There are psychos out there.
Kill them.
Psychos.
Why would you bring up kids? They're the worst. In church, movies, anything.
Kids in church. Kids. Damn it.
Shut up.
You're in church.
Kids
Right.
in public, just shut up.
Kids in church, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
You don't get any grace.
But how do
I
you
got in
feel about
trouble for
those
the-
child leash things?
Oh, those are terrible.
No,
Right,
I mean,
like-
that helps you.
Those
Those
are
are
from the
terrible.
He's
The
pro-
harnesses.
Hey, there's a future.
Ay, naku yung teenager ko. Panay ng workout. Kaso wangit natigil. May pinopormahan na yata. Hayan at nakatengang malinis siyang pang-gym.
Miriam at Martin, pag-ibig ang nagsimula, 6.5 taon na ang nakakaraan. Nagkakilala sa isang sports club noong 1995. Halos isang buwan matapos magkakilala, formal na naging mag-on sila Miriam at Martin. Isang relasyong punong-puno ng pagmamahalan. Isang relasyong biniyayaan ng tagumpay. Isang relasyong pinagtibay ng suporta at pangunawa.
She's brought the country a lot of recognition, a lot of pride, restored honor to our country. And paano ka namang hindi susuportahan yan? No? So I'm also doing it not just for her, not just for our relationship, but also for our country.
Bagamat abala sa kanilang career, patuloy na inalagaan ang kanilang relasyon. At noong December 2000, nag-propose si Martin at itinakda ang December 9, 2001 bilang araw ng kasal na magaganap sana sa Caleruega, Batangas. Ngunit nagulat ang lahat sa balitang wala ng kasalang magaganap. Umatras daw si Miriam dahil mas gusto niyang bigyan ng priority ang kanyang career at hindi pa siya handang mag-settle down. Third party raw ang dahilan at ang itinuturo ay si Paolo Bediones na co-host ni Miriam sa Extra Extra. At si Paolo nagsalita na ukol dito.
Ako, hindi man ako spokesperson ni Miriam, that's one. No? Although we work together, magkaibigan kami, I think yung mga bagay-bagay na ganyan, dapat talaga si Miriam ang tanungin. At kung gusto niya manahimik, respetuhin na lang natin yan, di ba?
At matapos ang ilang linggong pananahimik, MiriamQuiambao tells it all dito lang sa issue number 1.
Sa issue number 1, live na live po, MiriamQuiambao. Hello?
Good afternoon, Paolo. And good afternoon to all the TV audience as well as the studio audience. Hello, good afternoon.
You look great, you look wonderful.
Thank you, thank you. Salamat kay Nelson Benaventura ng Salon
Ba,
de Orientimo.
nag-plug agad.
Nag-plug agad.
Let's get down to it, no? May kasala mo talagang dapat na magaganap this coming December.
Meron dapat.
You were supposed to get married.
Mhm.
May date na't lahat.
Yes.
How far sa preparation kayo nakarating?
Well, we had our parents meet. Hindi pa naman formal pamanhikan yun. You just had the meet. Tapos, sinabihan na namin yung mga ilang ninong at ninang. And then, we have reservations already at the church. At bukod pa doon, nag-canvas kami ng mga reception venue. Pero other than that, yun pa lang.
At alam na ng mga friends mo.
Alam ng
Diba?
close friends ko.
And everyone was excited and everyone was very...
Yes, they were very happy for us.
Right. Kaya lang, last month, may nangyaring sabihin natin na di inaasahan. And ano exactly ang nangyari?
He just got back from out of town. Yun yung weekend na lumabas yung news na ikakasal na nga kami.
Right.
So I let him know.
Wait, by the way, yung news na lumabas na ikakasal kayo, were you aware na lalabas yun? Did you know?
Actually, nagulat ako kung saan nanggaling eh. Kasi wala naman akong sinasabihan ng detalye dito sa trabaho natin or whoever or kung sino man ang magiging merong associations or may connection sa TV press, di ba? So nagulat ako na lumabas yun sa tabloid. Pero I wasn't surprised kasi meron din akong ilang close friends na sinabihan and you know naman how
kwento-kwento lang.
Oo, may mga kwento-kwento lang. And it's easy to confirm at the church. So, hindi ko alam kung paano niya nakuha yung detalye, pero lumabas nga. Nagulat ako na lumabas, sinabi ko kay Martin, he wasn't surprised as well. But as soon as he got back from out of town, nag-usap kami. Tapos sabi ko, we just have some issues we need to settle. Also, career is a concern. Medyo nag-usap kami, nagkaroon kami ng discussion. And a few days later, nag-usap kami, sabi namin, maybe we need to call the wedding off and siguro kailangan muna namin mag-isip-isip. Yan.
Call the wedding off. Pag sinabing call the wedding off, pwedeng postponed. Diba?
Maaring postpone.
Pwedeng canceled, diba? But as a couple, kayo pa rin ba?
Noon, what I told him was we just needed to talk. There are just some issues between us that we need to settle.
Right.
Bago namin ituloy yung kasal or ituloy yung preparations para kasal. Maybe he misunderstood na akala na backing off of the marriage, pero hindi naman sa ganun eh. Anyway, alam na naman niya, nag-usap na kami. So, yun lang. Parang nag-cool off kami. Sabi ko lang, I just need some space. I need to think and discern if this is what I really want. Because a friend of mine told me that if there is any doubt for you, about getting married to a person, then don't, sabi niya. So, sabi ko, hindi naman buong-buong ang puso pag-iisip ko tungkol dito sa marriage na to kasi nga meron pa kaming issues na kailangan pag-usapan. Actually, kung napag-usapan namin ng maayos, baka maari pang masalvage. Pero may mga nangyari, kaya hindi na naiwasan ng paghiwalay.
Anong reaction sa lahat nito? Because ako, I know Martin personally. He's a great guy and everything, but he's a very private person. At eto ngayon, lumalabas sa national TV or even sa mga pahayagan, mga dyaryo, mga tabloid, yung issue na to, nababother ba siya? O tanggap na rin niya na it's part and parcel of your job at associated ka sa kanya?
He's even more bothered than I am. Ako kasi siguro, dahil nandito ako sa industriyang ito, mas natatanggap ko. Pero siya, mabigat para sa kanya ang maisaliwalat ba? Mailabas lahat ng mga detalye ng relationship namin, di ba? So, nahirapan siya doon. Pero, yung lumabas nga yung news, hindi na siya nagtanong pa eh. Kasi, yun nga, maaaring meron ako mga nasabihan at may mga koneksyon. So, yun. Pero, masamang-masama loob niya. Na, actually, kahit sino namang siguro may relationship at naging public lahat ng mga problema nyo, di ba? Sasama din ang loob mo. So, medyo mabigat sa loob namin ang private life namin, relationship namin, lumalabas ngayon sa public.
Right. Ang malaking issue ngayon na lumalabas, no, at nakakatuwa nga na ako pa yung nag-interview sa'yo, is allegedly may third party daw involved sa breakup at ako ang ginawang dahilan. Miriam, ako ba ang dahilan ng breakup mo with Martin?
Unang-una, hindi ikaw.
Iba.
Ano ba yun? Hindi. This is just to clear things up, no? There is no third party involved, which is the reason for the breakup. Wala ho.
No TV executive?
Walang TV executive, walang politiko. Hindi ko alam kung saan nyo napupulot yung mga yon at lalo-lalo na hindi ikaw.
Huwag naman ganun yung pagsabi mo. Parang ano sinasabi mong ano?
Hindi. Kumbaga, kasi magkasama tayo sa trabaho.
Right.
And we can understand na yung mga viewers natin, syempre kahit papaano, inaasahan din nila na magkatuluyan tayo. Siguro doon ang galing yung suspecha, pero kami dalawa ni Paolo ay magkaibigan.
Ayun.
He's a really good shoulder to cry on.
At hindi ka mabigat na nasa shoulder ko. Ang sinabi mong space kanina, ito usually malaking issue yan sa mga couples, no? Mga married couples na it leads to breakup because they need space. Ano yung space na kinailangan mo? Is it space to go out with other guys? Space to para mas makilala mo yung sarili mo sa industriyang ito? Sa entertainment, sa TV? Is it space lang para maging mag-isa? Because kahit pa paano, 6.5 years ka nagkasama ni Martin.
I practically grew up with a boyfriend because since 16 years old, meron akong boyfriend and I've never had the time na wala akong boyfriend mula nung 16 years old ako.
Right.
Kasi after I broke up with my first, immediately dumating si Martin. Tapos, nagtagal ng 6.5 years. Ngayon, dahil mas matanda si Martin, marami siyang naituro sa akin.
Right.
At basta karamihan ng mga paniniwala ko, mga convictions ko, minsan pinapattern ko na rin sa kanya. Space, hindi dahil gusto ko makipag-date ng ibang tao. Space, hindi dahil gusto ko mag-explore sa trabaho ko. Space dahil para makilala ko lalo yung sarili ko. Yun na nga maaring kulang pa siguro yung pagkabuo dun sa pagkatao ko. Kaya sabi ko, kailangan ko munang i-rediscover yung sarili ko and strengthen my convictions. And then, kung magiging kami, kung magkita kami ulit in the future, tapos magkaayusan kami, maalay mo, baka nga kami in the end.
So, you're not closing your doors at all. I mean, it's not... Kasi nakakapanghinayang 6.5 years, kahit pa paano mga kaibigan, di ba? Parang, ang habang panahon yun, di ba? Na magkasama, nagkikita kayo araw-araw ba?
Actually, nung 6.5 years, oo, halos araw-araw kami nagkikita at hindi kami nagkakasawaan. Yun ang maganda sa relationship namin ni Martin kasi marami kaming napag-uusapan. Matalino siya, he can talk about anything under the sun. And I appreciate that we have intellectual connection, no? At saka bukod pa doon, syempre, because we love each other, we feel affection for each other, di ba? So, malaking bagay na maganda rin ang communication namin para sa isa't isa. Bagamat marami kaming napagdaanan nung mga panahong lumalaban akong binibini, Miss Universe, syempre mahirap din para sa kanya yon, di ba? Na instant celebrity ako. So, pero dahil nga open ang communication lines namin, naayos namin na lahat yon. At yun na nga, humantong sa muntik ng kasalan. Kaya nga lang, may mga nangyari, so hindi natuloy.
Right. So ulitin natin, walang kasalang magaganap this December.
Wala na po.
There's no way na masasalvage siya na...
Wala na.
Okay. Sabihin natin halimbawa si Martin na sa harap mo or kausap mo siya at tinanong niya sa'yo, Miriam, nasaan ako sa puso mo sa ngayon? Anong masasagot mo?
Actually, masaya ako kasi nung huli kami nag-usap nung linggo, we parted very peacefully. Sabi ko, alam naman niya to eh, sinabi ko na sa kanya na he's free to date anyone. Meanwhile, I'll have to rediscover myself. Kikilalanin ko muna sarili ko, know what I really want. And then, kung magkita kami ulit in the future and, rediscover one another, then perhaps there's a chance. But if it's us, it's us. If it's not, then it's all for the best.
Right. Well said. Well said. Marami tayong matututunan dito talaga. For sure. Ito, medyo change natin yung bundang content. Ikaw ba naiilang ka pag sinasabi ng mga tao na, kasi lumalabas yun sa mga dyaryo, di ba, na allegedly bagay daw kami. Yon. Ano?
Bagay naman talaga tayo, di ba?
Ayun. kaya nga tayo chinchismis dahil sa mga statement mong ganyan.
Yan eh.
Hindi, we enjoy working with each other,
yes.
totally. Di ba? And from me to you, I'll always be here. I said that sa VTR, I'll say that here live on TV. I'll always be here for you. You're my good friend. I trust you and I know you trust me. At alam ko, swerteng-swerte yung tao na whoever it may be, who ends up with you, sobra siyang swerte.
Paolo, ikaw nagpapasalamat ako sa'yo kasi you have been a very good friend to me. Kahit 6 months pa lang tayo nagkikilala ng lubusan, pero I totally appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your openness with me. Also, you're sharing your insights with me. You're giving me advice. You're offering me a shoulder to cry on. And I really, really enjoy just being with you, being your friend. Kung sinabi mong swerte kung sino mang lalaking mapapakasalan ko, ikaw actually swerte din kung sino mang babaeng magugustuhan mo. Kaya, Yo, ba't kayo kinikilig?
Tuntua kayo, ha?
Tuwan-tuwa kayo, ha?
Teka, syempre, hindi pwedeng wala kang flowers. Yan.
Thank you.
This is for you.
This is just to clear things up. Once again, a third party is not the reason for the breakup. No TV executive, no politician, no Paolo. And there is indeed a calling off of the wedding. Pero for now, I just have to reconsider. I just have to rediscover myself. And if it's Martin and me, then we'll know in time. Salamat po.
Galing. So, open ka na sa dating?
Hindi pa siguro ngayon.
Hindi pa?
Hindi pa.
Mag-heal muna. Kasi
ano?
marami na nakapila na gusto mag-date
ganon?
sa'yo. Oo.
Siguro, hindi. Kailangan muna mag-heal ng wounds.
Right.
Tapos, siguro paghanda na ako, tingnan natin, uunti-untiin ko.
Alam mo, Miriam, we have a very special friendship and I'd like to thank you so much. And since you like special friendships, ang next na i-feature namin, mga kaibigan, thank you so much, by the way, for coming live
Paolo.
and for trusting me. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Paolo, for giving me this venue. Also, thank you po sa lahat ng mga hindi naniniwala. Hindi naniniwala sa chismis. Okay.
Ayun, mga kaibigan, speaking of special friendships, Aga and Regine sa pagbabalik ng S-Files. 4-10 yan! Janice, ako, Aga and Regine. Diyan lang po kayo.
Nangako si Aga na hindi naiiwan ang bagong asawang si Charlene. Mangako naman kaya.
S-Files is being brought to you by Smart Z.
Pagkatapos ng unos sa kanyang buhay.
Sa inyo lahat, isang magandang umagang kalaban o agawan ng bandila. Ito na ang ating Power Sports.
Pagkatapos wakasan ang isang relasyon, handa na nga ba sa bagong pag-ibig?
There is no third party involved, which is the reason for the breakup. Wala ho.
No
Wala.
TV executive.
Walang TV executive, walang politiko, hindi ko alam kung saan nyo napupulot yung mga yon, at lalo-lalo na hindi ikaw. I just have to rediscover myself. And if it's Martin and me, then we'll know in time.
MiriamQuiambao at Hans Montenegro, may relasyon daw. Magandang pagtitinginang nagsimula nang magkasama ang dalawa sa unang hirit. Na-develop daw ang relasyon ng dalawa dahil sa araw-araw nilang pagkikita sa show, sa madalas na location tapings, at nang ma-stranded sa Guimaras at Boracay, kung saan nagkaroon sila ng mas mahabang oras sa isa't isa. Sa isang write-up na lumabas, hindi nahiyang ipakita ng dalawa ang kanilang paglalambingan nang magkaroon sila ng taping sa Baguio.
Sana naman and have a happy trip.
Kailangan may shoulder.
Parehong kahihiwalay lang sa kani-kanilang naging karelasyon. Kaya't bagong pag-ibig na nga ba ito? Miriam's partner Paolo Bedjones, there's the rumored boyfriend Hans Montenegro sa Hot File.
Wow! This is fun.
Okay mga kaibigan, ganito yung nangyari. Hindi kami makadecide ni Janice kung sino sa amin ang dapat mag-interview kay Hans.
Okay.
Siyempre
so,
ako gusto ko. Ikaw gusto mo rin, di ba?
Oo naman.
Nag-Jack and Poy kami, ako yung natalo. Kaya pare, good luck.
Okay. Uy, umalis. Well, anyway, sige Hans, may relasyon nga ba kayo ni Miriam?
After
sige
me
na,
and
ang ganda naman ng video.
nung natapos kami ni Paulo. Hindi. Wala pa.
Wala pa. You're still in that getting to know each other stage.
Oo, nililigawan ko siya. Oo, we're dating. Yes, we care for each other a lot. But hindi pa kami.
Finally, it's nice to hear somebody openly say na nililigawan ko siya.
Kasi gamit na yung magkaibigan lang kami.
Oo naman, di ba? But it's nice to hear that because hardly do you hear a guy ever say, yeah, nililigawan ko siya.
Yeah, I'm proud of it.
What do you like about Miriam?
Where do I start? Do we have enough time?
Sige na! Ikaw naman.
Hindi, aside from the fact na napakabait siyang tao, kung for those of us who know, yung mga may kilala sa kanya at kung makikilala mo siya, napakadaling pakisamahan. Walang hang-up, palaging masaya. Alam mo yung outlook sa buhay, palaging masaya. Mabait kahit kanino man. Kesyo milyonaryo ka, kesyo janitor ka, kahit sino man.
Importante ba yun sa lalaki? Disposition ng babae?
Oo naman, at least para sa akin.
For you?
Ako hindi ako wala akong pasensya sa maarte na akala mo kung sino ka na, alam mo yun. Si Miriam kasi, hindi mo akalain nanalo ng titulo na muntik na nanalo ng Miss Universe eh. Talagang napaka down to earth niya. Kahit saan. Alam mo, kahit sino lumapit sa kanya. Yun nga, di ba, nasa Boracay kami, nasa Guimaras, and kahit anumang shoot ng unang hirit. Talagang pag nilalapitan siya ng tao, nakikita mo yung tingin ng tao sa kanya, walang mali siya. Yun talagang hanga sa kanya. And si Miriam never yung tumatanggi na magpa-autograph, magpa-picture, pag may nagre-request sa kanya ng magpabati sa unang hirit, talagang ang bait ng tao.
But we'd like to clear, no? Kasi you're divorced.
Matagal na.
Matagal na, okay. Just wanted to make it clear, okay?
Oo nga, please lang.
So,
For the record, ang dami ko nababasa kasi sa article sa tabloids.
Oo naman, because hindi naman din alam ng maraming tao na divorced.
For the record, June 2001. 2000. Last year.
Okay, so he's free as a bird.
So, officially divorced last year pa.
So, how do you think she'll feel about your daughter?
Napag-usapan naman namin, and with Miriam, she's okay naman with it. Kasi si Miriam hindi siya isang taong nanghuhusga ng iba eh. Alam niya na, alam mo yun, may sarili akong buhay bago ko siya nakilala, may sarili siyang buhay. At yun yung maganda sa amin dalawa. Ginagalang namin yung background namin, ginagalang namin yung opinion ng isa't isa. And alam naman niya, hindi naman natin mapapalitan ang nangyari na. Nagkarelasyon ako, nagkaasawa ako, nagkaanak ako, hindi natuloy, nag-divorce. She doesn't judge me for it. In the same reason that, di ba, halos mag-aasawa na sana siya sa December, engaged, hindi natuloy. For whatever reason, hindi na natin kailangan alamin kung bakit sila naghiwalay ng boyfriend niya. Ang punto lang doon, wala ng third party. Hindi ako, hindi si Paolo. And sana naman hayaan na natin. Kasi kung isipin nyo, no, she was engaged, diba?
Mhm.
Tapos hindi nagkatuloy. Kahit na paano, masakit yun. Kahit
Yes.
na napag-desisyon yan na magbe-break na sila, masakit pa rin yun.
Oo naman.
Tapos parang nilagyan mo pa ng asin yung sugat na, uy, dahil nangangaliwa ka eh. Yun daw yung, yun daw yung rumor.
No, that's unfair.
Hindi, diba? Kawawang tao eh. Tapos people alam mo yung kinahangaan si Miriam, tapos ang pinalabas pa doon na, not only na nangaliwa siya, may asawa pa yung dinedate niya. Hello?
Wala na pong asawa
Wala
si
na
Hans.
asawa, tsaka walang third party. Tsaka, for what it's worth, another person na hindi nyo ata kinonsider, dahil non-showbiz, yung ex-boyfriend niya. 'Di ba? Parang, for what it's worth, nagkahiwalay na nga sila. Masakit for Miriam, masakit din dun sa ex-boyfriend. Tapos parang binubuklat niyo pa yung natapos ng relasyon. Parang leave Miriam and, leave everybody
Leave
to
everybody
get over
alone.
it. Ang punto lang
lead their
doon,
own
tapos
lives.
na. It ended on its own. Tanggapin na lang natin na sayang, pero ganun talaga ang buhay. And, leave as long as she's happy where she goes or where she is. Yun na lang sana yung kung susulatan man sa tabloid. Kasi tanggap naman namin na, buhay TV personality.
Oo naman, syempre.
Susulatan
Everything's
talaga yung buhay
magnified.
mo.
Yeah,
Oo, tsaka
syempre.
alam namin trabaho lang yan. Wala naman personalan ng pagsusulat sa tabloid. Pero sana naman tama yung pinagsusulat. Kasi kahit pa paano, hindi nawawala sa amin yung kapasidad na masaktan kung hindi tama yung pinagsusulat. Ako nasaktan ako na pinalalabas na may asawa ko na nakikipag-date ako sa iba. Tinapos ko ng masinsinan yung relasyon ko bago ako umasa na mag-date sa iba. Si Miriam naman, napakabait na tao, hindi yun mangangaliwa. 'Di ba? And wala talagang third party yung pagtatapos na yung dahilan.
Are you happy?
Very.
Wow.
Very.
Ay, basta ano? Basta.
Basta ano?
Basta. Okay, basta.
No, very. And tsaka...
How do you think your daughter feels? Have you told your daughter na there's this person?
Well, my daughter, ang anak ko, lately lang natutong magsalita eh.
So, parang wala pa masyado.
To her, parang I'm in between, alam mo yun, Grover and Sesame Street, yung priority niya. No, I think, ang tanongin natin, ano yung pakiramdam ng ex-wife ko? Diba?
Oo.
And as a matter of fact, siya yung nag-text sa akin na, oy, balita ko na nililigawan mo si
Is she
Miriam.
happy for you?
Good choice. Siyempre dahil dating Binibining Pilipinas din yung ex-wife ko. Sabi niya, good choice, Binibining Pilipinas ata yan.
Wow.
So,
mahilig ka pala sa beauty queen.
Hindi, mahilig ako sa maganda. Nagkataon lang may corona sila. Hindi, no, she was happy for me. Kasi naman yung paghihiwalay namin,
It is good.
It's very good terms.
Diba, we talked
diba?
about this on Sis and it's on very good terms.
Yeah, very good terms. So yes, she's happy for me. My mom is happy for me. The people in Unang Hirit are nakikinikilig siyempre.
Okay, before I ask this next question, Pao, akala mo nakalusot ka na. Halika dito. Halika dito, bilis.
Yay!
Bilis! So, this is my interview, Paolo. Teka ha. So hindi kayo magkaaway.
Hindi ka naman, masyadong seryoso.
Paolo, this is my interview. Quiet.
Go, okay, go.
So hindi kayo magkaaway. Hindi naman kayo magkaaway.
Hindi, nung nalaman nga niya na nalilink nga si Miriam sa akin, medyo nagtampo sa akin ng siguro mga 3 linggo, no?
Nagtampo ka talaga?
Asa ka pa. Intigero.
Hindi. Wala. Pinagtawanan lang talaga namin. Ito something na na-anticipate namin na pwede mangyari.
Kaming 3.
Oo.
Ako si Miriam, si Paul. Tawa kami ng tawa.
We go out, lumalabas kami, gumigimik kami. So nakakatawa, at the same time, nakakatuwa.
Ganon.
Diba?
And sa totoo lang, nung nabasa namin yon, nagtatawanan kami. Tapos sabi ko, buti nga, take the attention off me. Para hindi ako yung pagkakamalan.
Buffer.
Ginawa niya akong buffer zone.
Ito yung aking force field.
Okay, Paolo, since you're friends,
Yes, Janice.
what do you wish, Hans?
Ay, Diyos me. Ako,
I'm so kind
Ako
to
ito
you.
if there's anyone who will know kung gaano kabait ang dalawang tao na yan, si Miriam at si Hans, ako yun. Si Hans, ilang taon ko nang kilala yan. Si Miriam, kasama ko yan sa Extra. I cannot be happier for I cannot be any... Basta, sobra ako natutuwa sa kanila. Yan, ganyan kami naglolokohan. And that's something that people don't see na, when I say that I'm really happy for them, I mean it from the bottom of my
Hindi
heart.
kaya
And
after
gusto
today, kayong dalawa naman na machismis.
Tapos na nga kami.
Okay, tapos na kayong dalawa. Okay, fine.
Tapos na kami.
Fine.
Relasyon namin ni Hans, tapos na po. Huwag nyo na i-chismis. But,
I love you, man.
yes, me too. Pero alam mo, alagaan mo. Ako, I know I don't have to say this, pero whatever happens, like you said, lililigawan mo siya, and probably si Miriam naman, she just has to, kumbaga, sort herself out. Yung buhay niya, kung anong gusto niya sa buhay, before she can decide
Sana
whether or not
ako.
sasagutin ka, at sana nga ikaw, dahil sa tingin ko walang ibang nararapat sa kanya kundi ikaw.
Okay, Hans, how much do you love Miriam?
Tanong ko yun eh. Gaano mo kamahal si Miriam? Ako mahal ko yung partner ko na yan eh.
Bakit? Anong papagawa niyo?
Ha?
Wala lang, I just asked.
Very
diba?
much.
How much do you love Miriam?
Very much.
To the point na ano?
To the point na, bakit? Ba't nyo kailangan alamin?
Wala naman. Para lang inspire kami siguro.
May batayan ba? May sukat ba ang pagmamahal?
No, I mean, that's
Yun
well
na, yun
said.
ang
That's
sagot.
enough. Okay, may
Okay na-
batayan
okay na si
ba?
Janice
May
doon.
sukat
Happy na
na
siya
ba
doon.
ang pagmamahal?
Mismatch?
Oh well.
Has this, the whole intrigue, yung mga nangyayari, mga tabloid, mga chismis, has it made you closer, you and Miriam?
Oo naman. Kahit pa paano. Because nga, well, hindi bola yun. Sa unang hirit talaga. Di ba, araw-araw kayo nagkikita, magkaibigan kayo. Nag-umpisa kami magkaibigan, which is really good. Has it made us closer? Oo rin. Kasi syempre, ngayon lang talaga binulgar namin na may gusto kami sa isa't isa, di ba?
Pero ligaw
noon
stage,
pa, ligaw stage, oh. Pero noon pa, para nakikita namin yung, lalo na yung mga tabloids na nililink ka. Actually, hindi naman siya masyadong na-alarma na nilink sa'yo kasi alam naman namin yung katotohanan. Pero more of...
Parang mas sinabi mo na hindi ako nais-nais na tao. Salamat
Hindi,
pare, salamat.
Pero ang punto ko
Thank
rin,
you.
yung parang walang... Mas nasaktan siya na yun nga,
Yung
parang
angulo na
angulo na
parang
third
isang
party
may asawa.
na and ako nga yung angulo na may asawa pa ako na nakikipag-date ako, siya naman nakikipag-date sa may asawa. Siyempre dahil para kami yung inaatake, napalapit kami
That's
na parang
why.
we can handle this. Don't worry about
And
it.
you know what? If you're in love, my God, there are no barriers that you can't conquer.
Yun nga.
Okay,
Well
di ba?
said.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
natin si Miriam nasa...
Hi, Miriam!
Hi, Miriam!
She's in Boracay right now.
Thank you very much, Hans. Thank you very much, Paolo.
Thank you, Janice.
Okay, thank you very
Guest
much.
me again on your
yes,
show,
okay?
okay? Thank you.
Ito
Thank
po.
you for coming to S-Files. I'll see you next
Hans
week.
is a symbol of a person coming from a relationship that did not work out. He's still a symbol of positivity, that there is always a second chance to love. Magbabalik po S5.
Ako lang ba?
Alright.
Ikaw?
Mamaya pag-usapan ka namin.
One-on-One with Janice was brought to you by Miracle Whip Sandwich Spread. S-Files is being brought to you by Smart Z and the all-new Pantene collection.
Sa bagong panahon, dapat bagong proteksyon. Vaseline Vitamin C and E Antioxidants.
Nissin Cup Noodles. Laging mainit. Laging masarap. Laging handa. Walang gutom sa Nissin Cup Noodles.
Uy, tamang-tama.
Tol, kailangan itama. Konting lugay, konting bawas, konting dagdag para tama ang timpla.
Hi.
Miss, wala nang pop?
Miss, say na lang.
Top Cola, always tama ang timpla. Thanks, ha?
Ay, siya yun!
Iba't ibang shampoo ang gamit ng pamilya ko. Di ba pwedeng isang shampoo na lang?
Ngayon, may revolutionary multi-care shampoo. New Rejoice Complete.
Kaya ang dulas ng buhok ko. For my daughter, a new citrus floral fragrance. And dandruff control para kay daddy.
New Rejoice Complete. Complete shampoo ng iyong pamilya.
Ang kaakit-akit, ang mapanuksong Asunta de Rossi. Sumisisid. Sisid. Ipakikita ni Asunta ang lahat.
Woo! Yes! Bakit pero niloko mo ako?
Sisisid siya.
Sinungaling!
Papunta sa inyo.